Good afternoon. Today we will present our case for the Ethics in Finance class. We are the Moraalridders and our names are Floris, Michael, Floris, Bob and Sven. Our goal is to develop an alternative to performance indicators or targets for a retail bank that builds on employees' intrinsic motivation. First, here is our table of contents. First, we will explain what retail banks are. Second, we will discuss extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. Hereafter, we will explain why intrinsic motivation is a solution to the problem extrinsic motivation causes. Finally, we will come up with our alternatives to the traditional performance indicators.
A retail bank is a bank that offers banking services to individuals and small businesses as opposed to one dealing with large corporations and financial institutions. Retail banking, also known as consumer banking, is the provision of services by a bank to individual consumers, rather than to companies, corporations or other banks. Services offered include for savings, mortgages and personal loans. What is the conventional motivation for employees in retail banks? Conventional motivation usually builds on targets and key performance indicators. This way of motivation can be called extrinsic motivation. There is a strong focus on extrinsic motivation by performance goals, a lack of autonomy and low confidence outside their own team. In order to understand the traditional way of motivating employees, we need to understand the difference between extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. First, we will further explain what extrinsic motivation is.
Extrinsic motivation refers to the behavior that is driven by external rewards such as money, fame and grades. This type of motivation arises from outside the individual as opposed to intrinsic motivation, which originates inside the individual. Extrinsic motivation is said to be less effective because it comes from outside the person. External reinforcement, for instance, are usually in the form of control. People usually don't like to feel controlled. Extrinsic motivation increases the incentives of ethical behavior by employees.
Intrinsic motivation refers to behavior that is driven by internal rewards. In other words, the motivation to engage in a behavior arises from within the individual because it is intrinsically rewarding. Intrinsic motivation can be based on several factors. The main factors include self-development, which can be mentally, socially or intellectually, autonomy, which is motivation through feeling independent and trusted, power, which is the desire to be able to have influence, and social status, which is the respect of co-workers.
We suggest 3 measures that can be implemented. We base our proposals on 4 fundamental motivators: power and social status, autonomy and self-development. The first measure we propose is based on power and social status. We argue that this is one of the most important intrinsic motivators, especially in competitive work situations like banks. We propose that relative performance can be a useful tool to motivate workers intrinsically. The bank can set up a platform where the top 10 performers are represented monthly. In this way, people are motivated to try and achieve being named on that list. This increases their perception of their social status and power within the company. The second measure we propose is based on autonomy. Autonomy is important to people because people like to have the feeling that they have control over their own life. We propose flexible working hours and locations. This means that employees of the bank are able to manage their own agendas. Also, we would give employees the chance to work from home or any other place they would like. We think this will increase the feeling of autonomy of the bank employees. They will thus be more intrinsically motivated and as they feel the company puts trust in them. The third measure we propose is based on self-deployment. This is considered as important because people feel the need to develop themselves in a positive way. Therefore, we propose that all employees get a fixed amount of time per month to spend on training or course of their interest. This means they can participate in, for instance, a sales or presentation training. We believe this will give employees the feeling that the retail bank stimulates individual development. This results in more intrinsic motivation in their work. These are designed to stimulate responsibility between agents and reflective reasoning to do no harm and to sustain relationships.
Conclusion. The standard performance indicators of retail banks are based on extrinsic motivation, which can stimulate unethical behavior. The new performance indicators we propose are based on intrinsic motivation and comply to ethics of care. Care stimulates to take the other perspective rather than only one own's. Care stimulates responsibility for one's action and for other needs in relation to uncertainty. Care gives a contextual response to financial fragility and human fallibility. Thank you for watching.